We welcome everybody to Iowa Postgame here with yours truly and the one and only Tania Davis on a wonderful evening. And I said to Tania before we jumped on here live, Tania, we need to have you on more because good things happen when Tania Davis commits to being on this postgame show. Just talk about how your emotions and how you're feeling. I know you've been removed from this program for a few years, but you never stop being a Hawkeye, and just talk about how you feel right now being able to see this group accomplish history.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited for this group. I'm so excited, especially for those coaches. I think you heard Caitlin reference it at the end of the game. Those coaches, they've been in it. Coach Bluder has been at Iowa for 23 years. And so just for her to advance to her first Final Four, I'm just so happy for her because I know the work that, not only just her, but her staff. I know all the work that they put in behind the scenes, the late hours in the office, watching film, making the perfect scouts, but most of all, player development. And so truly, truly happy for them, man, because they definitely deserve it. Monica, Kate, Caitlin, everyone on that team, like super, super proud and happy for them. And ready to keep this thing rolling for sure.
You have any? I mean, how did Iowa put up 97? I mean, I know that this Louisville team, they're fine with playing a pretty fast pace. Obviously, Haley Van Lith, really good scorer herself.
Yeah,
this is a decent defensive team. Some of I looked up some defensive metrics, and they weren't great in points per game. They like to play fast, but as far as defensive efficiency, they're tough. I mean, Caitlin Clark scores 41, has a 40-point triple-double. You'd fall down 8-0 early, and she single-handedly gets you back in the game. 7-0 spurt from Caitlin. I mean, just how did Iowa put up this many points on this stage away from home?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Caitlin. Like you said, they went down early, 8-0, and then she has her own 7-0 run by herself. And so I just think that in that moment, you could just kind of sense Caitlin was like, okay, got to take this thing over. Let's get this started. And then once she got settled in, it made the game easier for everyone else. That's when you saw the passing coming in, Kate hitting threes, McKenna hitting threes. You really, for the most part, quiet night for Monica. Like, she didn't really dominate the post like we're so used to her dominating, but she had a presence. But like I said, Caitlin, for sure, she got the ball rolling. Once she got settled in, it just became easier for everyone else.
How are you feeling? I mean, early when you saw Haley Van Lith get open time after time after time, and again that quick 8-0 start. Lisa Bluder makes some adjustments, goes to the zone. Zone certainly slowed things down a bit, which I think helped. But just your thoughts early on with the struggles defensively.
I definitely think that Bluder early adjustment that obviously helped a lot. Louisville, they played some defense, but Iowa also, like, they switched things up. They didn't allow Louisville to get comfortable at any point in the game. They started off the game man-to-man. Then you saw a little triangle and 2. Then you saw a little 1-2-2. Then you saw a 2-3. And so I think that Coach Bluder's adjustments, those definitely helped spark that early run. And then once they got on that run, Iowa just really never looked back.
Absolutely. We're going to get to our callers here in a little bit. I want to remind everybody that you can join the show by means of StreamYard by clicking the link in the description. I told Tania before we jumped on here, I'm having some funky issues with the computer this evening. So as far as our physical phone line is concerned, we're going to have to wait on that. But you can call in the meantime by means of StreamYard, and I'll also throw the link up in the live chat. So it's in the live chat now for everybody. But let's first of all go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line with James, who's been waiting on hold. James, welcome to the show.
Oh, how you doing?
Good, James. How are you?
I was fresh tonight. I'm not used to that, so I was waiting a little bit. But
I'm in a good mood tonight, James.
Yeah, for sure. First off, I want to say prayers to Jensen and her family. I think it's the most important thing, whether the game win or loss. That's more important than anything. But it's good to get the win for her. Because especially going through all that, and her coaching is kind of something that I think I didn't expect. I don't know if I go through that, it'd be hard for me to coach for
Absolutely.
sure. So for her being out there is kind of great too, and getting the win is even more important for her.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about? I know she's considered a kind of the post whisperer, Tania, but can you talk about who Jan Jensen is as a person?
Oh man, like first class, world class person. Absolutely love Coach J. We call her Coach J. So, but Coach J, absolutely love her. What you see on the court is who she is off the court. Very fiery, but it all comes from a good place of love. She has a great relationship with all her players. And so, just right now, like you said, James, prayers for her, because I can only imagine what she's going through. Last time I actually saw Coach J, well, I didn't see her. I was texting with her, was at the Iowa State tournament. And, she was there. I kind of wanted, obviously, to chat with her, but, she had to head out to go see her father. And so, big prayers to her. But off the court, such a first-class woman. Absolutely love Coach J. Every time I text her, she texts me. It's always good positive energy, good positive vibes, nothing but love for her.
First off, I think this has to cement Caitlin as Player of the Year. 41-point triple-double, and she's the first person ever to do it in the history of the NCAA tournament. I don't think you can not give it to her, but that's just my opinion, at least on that retrospect. Like, nobody's ever done that before.
Well, I'm just curious, who else are we going to give it to? And don't say Aaliyah Boston.
I'm telling you right now. She's in the front runner because they're undefeated.
Front runner? Front runner? What does that mean?
Not the front runner. I think Caitlin's the front runner, but I think in people's eyes, she's the other front runner because they're undefeated and they're the best team, because they're the number one overall seed. And that's what people look at, unfortunately. Sometimes there's more wins over, like, impact as much as it is.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, if somehow, and by the way, she won't. Caitlin Clark will win the Naismith,
she should, but
deservedly so. But if somehow Aaliyah Boston ended up National Player of the Year, and I know that Clark has already been named a couple of different there's a bunch of different National Player of the Year awards. But if somehow that occurred and she was snubbed, it would be the biggest travesty in the history of college sports. That's how ridiculous that would be.
A question. My bad.
I know. Aaliyah Boston's great. Don't get me wrong. And that team is great. Nothing taken away from her, but I don't know how you can possibly deny somebody who's doing what she's doing. And she's now done it. She's now proven it on the big stage. Like, that's what she's done.
Yeah.
You could make the argument, well, she hasn't done it in tournament time. Last year they didn't get out of the second round. They get to the second weekend. Right. Okay, now we're heading to Dallas. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what else you have to prove. If they lose in the Final Four, they lose in the Final Four. This is the second time in the history of this program they've been to this stage. They're probably going to play South Carolina. By the way, just a quick note here, James. I don't know if you remember my women's bracket that I filled out. Do you remember what I had in the Elite Eight above Iowa?
Stanford? Or do you have Louisville?
So I had Stanford beating Iowa in this round, and I had Maryland beating South Carolina.
I had Iowa beating Stanford just because I have faith in Clayton. But I said it wrong. So I meant like Caitlin Clark is the front runner, but some people see Aaliyah Boston as the front runner. Like I'm saying in my eyes, Caitlin Clark's the front runner, but people see. But anyways, my question for you, Corey, is where do you rank this on your in your lifetime of like Iowa sports?
In my lifetime of Iowa sports?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Just getting where we're at now, getting the Final Four.
Yeah.
That's hard. I would say it's pretty darn high. I don't know what else I'd go. Like,
I'd say if we would have won the Big Ten championship, the one year against Michigan State, that might be a little bit higher.
2015, obviously 2015 football comes to mind. Obviously, the two men's basketball tournament championships that come to mind. I mean, heck, the Lisa Bluder has won that tournament a number of times. I mean, the 2009 Orange Bowl, this is right up there. I don't know how you couldn't put a Final Four trip up there. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime.
Sure.
And I don't know that I expected. I mean, James, I've been critical of this team at times, and I didn't have them in the Final Four. I had them in the Elite Eight, but I did not have them advancing to Dallas. So
it's also hard too as well. But like you were talking earlier about Van Lith going, I feel like, and I'm not knocking Fran for this. This is not what I'm trying to say, but I feel like she's willing to adjust Lisa Bluders, and I think that's what helped them win the game for sure. Is all the different defenses she was throwing at them. The triangle and two, and everything else she was throwing at them. It kind of was throwing them off. And then once they got into the triangle and two, it made other people force shots that they weren't used to taking, so they were forcing shots and missing a lot of shots because they were used to taking that. And I felt like that's where the game changed a lot more than obviously Caitlin took over, but like that's what changed the game more than we think is probably the triangle and two as well, because that made them force a lot of shots, and you got the ball out of the hands of Van Lith, and I feel like that was a big part of the game.
And tonight I felt like it almost like I said, Louisville was playing real fast early. The pick and roll defense wasn't very good from Iowa. You're going under screens. She's taking advantage of the pick and roll, and you have a situation where, well, I shouldn't even say really just ball screen defense. They weren't really rolling anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know how would you describe their struggles when Iowa went zone, when they went and played box and one? Like, what was it about that seemed to confuse Louisville?
I just think so when you look at Louisville, and it's crazy because I was sitting here just thinking to myself. So when I was at Clemson, we obviously played Louisville in the conference. And so just seeing that team, they're not like, you got Mikasa Robinson. She's not an outside threat. Her game is getting to the rim, maybe shooting 15-footers, maybe. Morgan Jones, same thing with her. Like, only wants to go right, get to the rim, pull up jumpers. And so when the triangle and two came about, that came about because you're taking away two of the best players, two of the playmakers for Louisville. And so now you're forcing Mikasa Robinson to handle all of the offense on her own. And that's not her strength at all. That's not what she's looking to do. And so that's where that confusion came from. The 2-3 zone. Again, Iowa's just packing in the paint, and they're only closing out long to Haley Van Lith. Everyone else, they're staying and packing in the paint, and Louisville they don't know what to do with that because they're just so used to, like you said, playing fast, people just getting up and pressuring them and staying, quote unquote, I guess, true to their own style of basketball. But, basketball is a game of adjustments. And I think Bluder made a great adjustment by going zone, triangle and two, just basically keeping Louisville on their toes. Because, I mean, as you guys saw, whenever Iowa was in that man, Louisville was a little bit more comfortable as opposed to any time that they were in that zone. So, like I said, kudos to that. But that was just Bluder and staff just exposing Louisville's weaknesses, rather.
One more thing I think we're not going to take credit of, because obviously the 40-point triple-double is going to take, light in this, but Warnock and Gabby, if they weren't hitting shots, I think this game would be different. The fact that it took the pressure off of them, because they were playing so much on Clark and so much on Sanano, they were pretty much giving them 3-point shots, and they were actually hitting them. And I think that's something that we also have to take into consideration. Like, they were hitting their shots, and that's what kind of helped Caitlin as well get more shots, because you had to guard them at some point, because they hit between them two, they hit 5 threes?
Probably.
6 threes between those two. You have to guard them at some point.
I don't know the official box score yet, but I know Gabby Marshall was 0 for 4 in the first half, made a couple of quick ones in the third, which, boy, you're right, James. When McKenna's making threes, when Gabby Marshall's making threes, this team can win without those ladies shooting well. But when they are shooting well, it's hard for them to lose, frankly. And it may take, if all those if all those players, if Warnock and Marshall and Martin, if they're making threes against even South Carolina is going to need everything in the tank to beat Iowa. Now, I don't know that all those players will be on at the same time. They may not. And that's hard to get everybody clicking, right, tonight? I mean, it's hard to expect everybody to be clicking. For the most part, they were tonight.
Yeah. Like you said, it's definitely tough to get everybody clicking at the right time. But like you said, they definitely were. And that all started with Caitlin. She got going early. Once she got going, you saw Louisville, they were committing 2-3 people to her at one point, leaving open Kate, McKenna, and Gabby. And so, Caitlin was making the right plays, giving up the ball to those shooters. And, like you said, Gabby was 0 for 4 in the first half. But as a teammate, you saw them go up to Gabby and say, hey, keep shooting. You're going to be open, so keep shooting. And so, like you said, it's going to be tough, and it is tough to have everyone clicking all at the same time. But I think right now they're clicking on all cylinders, and they're just going to keep that momentum rolling into the Final Four.
One more thing before I get off and let you get to callers. I'm happy for Lisa Bluter and happy for the university. Something that is big on her resume, especially she's been there 23 years, and she definitely deserves something like this for everything she's done for our program and Iowa women's basketball to put us back on the map for sure. And it's just great to see them get there. And whether they win or not, it's the most important thing is we got to the Final Four, and I think that's something that as people outside of Iowa don't, probably didn't expect. So,
yeah. A lot of people in Iowa didn't expect it, including me. So thank you, James. Appreciate the call, sir. All right. Got a bunch of people who want to chat with you, Tania. We've got our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line open via StreamYard right now, and I am working on trying to get the phone line activated, our 515 number. So hang tight, folks. I'm going to see if I can get this going. So perhaps we can ignite a bit of a dialogue between our next caller and Tania, and I can work at this. But a couple things in the chat before we get to our next caller. Eric has a pretty simple question. Can this team win it all tonight?
I mean, when you look at championship teams, point guard play and post play are two very crucial things to any championship level team. And then you just add the shooting around that. I mean, they're going to be a tough out. Can they win it all? I mean, they're one of the 4 teams going to Dallas. So at this point, yeah, they can possibly win it all. Can they take South Carolina down? If they shoot the ball like they did today and defend at a high level that they did today, yeah, they possibly can. And then you could possibly meet up with another Maryland, LSU, Ohio State, Virginia Tech. And so, if those things happen, I really like Iowa's chances right now because, like I said, they're rolling. And I can't imagine Hawk fans not going down to Dallas, and when Dallas is full with Carver, with Hawkeye fans, I mean, Caitlin's going to get going. Everyone else is going to get going. And so that's just a huge spark. And so I think right now they're rolling. So we'll see.
I once flew to Dallas one way tonight for $32 one way
really?
Down. Yes. So I doubt you're going to be able to get tickets like that, but I'm just saying that's a very DFW and Love Field, plenty of options travel-wise. Yeah. It's honestly not that. It's drove that. We're just in Dallas here a few months ago, back in January. It's a long drive, but it's a doable drive. And this time of year when it's still cold here, in fact, we got snow here in Iowa today.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if there's some Iowa fans that drive down there for a vacation. It's 70 degrees down there today. So,
yeah.
I appreciate Bradley Gibson. He's our newest member here on YouTube. Thank you for doing that. If you're interested in becoming a premium subscriber, you can click the join button next to From the Hawkeye of the Storm here on YouTube. And a reminder to everybody, if you're here, and we've got about 400 people here watching live at this moment, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate Tania staying up late with us to talk about this historic win by the Hawkeyes, a 97-83 win over the Louisville Cardinals. We're going to get to our callers in a second, but I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Iowa Floor Covering, you see their logo up in the corner. They've been with us throughout the season. Please consider supporting all of our sponsors, Iowa Floor Covering being one of those sponsors. And of course, in addition to Iowa Floor Covering, you can also please support Iowa Smokehouse. They've been with us throughout March Madness. Visit iowasmokehouse.com for more information on their great snacking items, including meat sticks, some beef jerky. I actually had some meat sticks during the game tonight. Great snacking, great quality snacks. And of course, you're supporting a sponsor, a company that's supporting us right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. They're located right in the heart of central Iowa. Well, just south of central Iowa, I should say, down in Albia. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse. Use that code Hawkeye for 15% off your order. Visit iowasmokehouse.com. All right. Well, let's get to here's what we're going to do, folks. I'm going to add our next Iowa Smokehouse caller in here. It's Ryan. Mr. Ryan, here's what's going to happen, buddy boy. I am going to let you ask Tania a question or two. I'm going to boot my out of here so you can fix my shoes. So I'm not full control of the show, Ryan, but you do what you can to fill a couple of minutes while I try to get this computer issue figured out. All right, sir?
All right. Good luck, Corey.
We're good.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, Coach Tania, thanks again for being here. I think it's just wonderful seeing past Hawkeyes. I know you're a UNO coach now and still bleeding the black and gold. Just such an awesome time. You know, I was trying to think. I go back to the early 80s as a Hawkeye fan, diehard football, women's, men's, everything. You know, I remember in 1987, Kevin Gamble hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to put us into the grade 8. We were blowing out UNLV to go to the Final Four and then had an epic collapse, which is still a sore point to many Hawkeyes. I'm trying to think, though, it was my all-time favorite Hawkeye moment. I remember 2002 football going undefeated. Obviously, the 2009 Orange Bowl, 1993 Women's Final Four. I was in high school. Tonight tops it all. Tonight absolutely tops it all. And I think part of the reason why is just, you know, we've brought so much prestige to the University of Iowa through the greatness of Caitlin. There's absolutely nothing anybody can say. There's still a few detractors out there, and I think she probably poured a pretty strong glass of shut-up juice to anybody who's left. I mean, 41 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists on the biggest stage possible. Who in the heck does that?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like you said, she definitely poured a big, tall glass of shut-up juice to everybody because, I mean, if you can't give her Player of the Year at this after this performance, I don't know. Like, what are you watching? What are you basing your votes on at that point?
I mean, it's absolutely no disrespect to any of the other players, but we're not near the same team without her. You know, we're maybe a middle of the pack Big Ten team, but you got a generational player with a supporting cast around her that embraces her and she embraces them. The chemistry is just off the charts. And I'm sure, you know, this afternoon when I heard of Mr. Jensen passing away, I couldn't help but think there's just no way we're going to lose this game. No way at all. They love Coach Jensen too much. And, you know, it seems like I'm noticing a pattern. We kind of let the teams hang around in the first half. In that third quarter, we just put on the afterburners and really kind of stick it to them. We're a dangerous third quarter team. And Corey, I was telling Coach Tania that I think this one tops them all of my all-time Hawkeye memories.
Wow. And you've been alive longer than I have, sir.
Well, do you remember the 93 game, Final Four? I was in high school.
No, I hadn't been conceived yet.
Oh, darn. Dang it. I keep forgetting, Corey. Anyway, yeah, I'm telling you, tonight is awfully special. And thanks again for being with us, Coach. And go Hawks. I think we can beat South Carolina, although the rebounding scares the daylights out of me. But they're not a good shooting team at all. But the last thing I wanted to say is Coach Waltz in Louisville is a very class operation. You didn't see them when the game was over with 10 seconds to go, taking stupid cheap shots and acting like sore losers. They really have a lot of pride in what they do, and fantastic program. And I'll be a Louisville fan when they're not playing Iowa going forward. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the super chat here from CJ. Says, happy Tania is back. I echo that, Tania. I'm glad, again, not giving you full credit for the 2 wins here in Seattle, but
Yes.
I think it's a strange coincidence that you jumped on when you did. So I appreciate you being here. Again, if you're interested in donating, I guess I should mention that super chats are, of course, open. You can also find links to Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Support the show, the work being done here to provide Hawkeye coverage, not only Iowa women's basketball coverage, but also Iowa men's basketball coverage, Iowa football coverage, and we'll even have some Big Ten baseball coverage once we hit the Big Ten tournament postseason play here in a couple of months. So please consider supporting as we plow along here in March Madness. We're not done with the postseason coverage yet, as we've got at least one more game on the women's side. We'll be doing a show with Gary Close for the national championship game. Real quick tonight, as we continue to kind of celebrate this win and this incredible accomplishment for the Iowa women, just your thoughts on the Iowa men's draw. Did you ever imagine you'd see such a balanced, odd Final Four?
No. I would, if I'm sitting up here telling you that I would have picked this group to be in the Final Four, no, I'd be lying. Like FAU, San Diego State, Miami. I did not see any of these teams getting this far, honestly. But I think it's a great thing. I think it's good for the game of basketball, just to have that wide diversity, just different teams stepping up to play. Night in or night out basis. Obviously, you can't overlook anybody this time of year. And it's really all about matchups. And then now we're getting to League A Final Fours. Now it's all about execution and heart. I mean, everyone has played the same amount of games at this point. Everyone's legs are gone. So it's just about execution and heart. And so, kudos to those 4 teams. I will honestly say I don't think anyone in the world predicted this to happen, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And FAU is an intriguing one because how many games have they lost all year? Very few. But they don't get much respect. They had a very weak schedule and obviously not playing in a great – Conference USA is not a great conference.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the portal continues to affect balance and schools like Nebraska, Omaha. I mean, teams like the Mavericks, you have an opportunity potentially to do more than you could have 10, 15 years ago because of the transfer portal and just NIL and everything. So we'll continue to talk about that as we move forward for both the men and the women. T. Hink is in our chat. He says, Corey, you making the trip to Dallas? I again, since I didn't expect this to happen, I guess I haven't given that any thought and haven't talked it over with the wife, but that'd be quite a trip. Like I said, we were just in Dallas here a couple months ago, and we were able to go to see the Dallas Mavericks in live action. I'm assuming that the Final Four is at American Airlines. Is that?
Yeah.
Gotta be. Right?
It is.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So we'll have to. To see what we can do there. Let's start with Lomansky. Appreciate the super chat. Lomansky bringing out the Hundies here. He says, Final Four, here we go. We remember Coach Stringer and we celebrate Coach Lisa Bluter. Thank you, Lomansky. Always appreciate your super chats and your contributions to the show. Please call in, Lomansky. We do appreciate you giving and supporting the channel here. Thank you, sir. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Looks like we've got Troy on the line. Troy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Corey. Thanks for having me on. The one thing that I can kind of tell what's with this girls team is from last year, the defensive awareness and the shooting by everybody else except for Caitlin, especially the outside shooters with Marshall and Warnock today. Just hitting those threes, it has been just a sight to behold and just exciting to watch. So, and the other thing that I've got to ask is this 2-3 defense or this 2-3 zone. Do you think it would work against South Carolina? I don't think so, because when I watched them yesterday, I mean, they have some shooters, but their main offense is their big girl, and even that 6'7" sub that comes in, she's a pretty big menace. But just wondering what you guys thought.
Yeah. Honestly, I think at this point in the season, South Carolina, they've seen everything. So they're prepared for a 2-3 zone. They're prepared for triangle and 2 possibly. They're prepared for a packed in man-to-man. And so it'll be tough because, like you said, their offense is really driven through their post players. And, I mean, you have maybe the one outside threat is Zaya Cook. When she can get hot, she can start cooking a little bit. But other than that, like you said, their entire offense runs through Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardosa in the post. And so a 2-3 zone, I mean, you have to do it. You have to do it because you're playing the numbers this late. And I know Bluter is going to play the numbers game, and their outside shooting isn't it. So we'll see. She's definitely going to go 2-3 against South Carolina. But like I said, they've seen everything, just about everything this late in the season. So we'll see if it actually works.
And like, I watched the Ole Miss game between South Carolina, and it seemed like Ole Miss and a lot of other teams have tried to pack the paint against South Carolina. And the difference between Ole Miss and us is we hit the shots.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the edge that we might have to compete with the South Carolina as far as packing that paint and trying to make sure that Aaliyah Boston. The only other thing is we've got to make sure on the backside we box out and rebound.
Yeah.
I mean, limit their offensive rebounds, get those transition points that we know that we can get and we thrive on. So,
you know, the bottom line, Troy, is if I'm obviously you're not going to go back and do this, but if you watched how Purdue lost to Farley Dickinson on the men's side, just do everything you can. I mean, throw everybody you have at Zach Edey and just say, hey, we don't believe you can beat us from 40 minutes from outside. And frankly, Troy, I agree with you. If this becomes a shooting contest, huge advantage Iowa. Now, I don't know that Iowa can do that. I've not watched enough South Carolina basketball. Certainly, given their record, it would indicate to me that teams have tried that plenty of times, I'm sure. And teams with better size than Iowa. I mean, Iowa struggles on the glass. They struggle at times tonight. And it reminds me, I need to grab the official box score. I'm sure it's been posted now. But I would echo what Tania said. You just got to do everything you can to force South Carolina into an uncomfortable position. And yeah, I mean, they're not one of these teams. They're not like the UConn teams of years ago. I think, was it Ryan that said that the other day? This is a team, if you can hang with them, and I think the way they play would lend you to believe that, yeah, you can hang with them. South Florida proved that a couple of nights ago. And that's why I actually had Maryland beating South Carolina tomorrow. That may not happen, but one of the few teams out there tonight that I think can almost or come closer to matching the athleticism is Maryland.
Absolutely.
And that's just who they are, right? It's kind of how they recruit. And I mean, what are your thoughts on that matchup tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think their pressure, I think that can get to South Carolina a little bit. As we saw, I can't remember who South Carolina just played game previously.
South Florida.
Yeah. So, like, their pressure, Maryland's pressure can definitely get to them. I think that is one area in which they are weak. And so you have a Kiera Fletcher who's starting. She has the experience for sure, but when South Carolina goes to their bench, now you're dealing with a Raven Johnson who's younger, and she just knows one speed, go. And so I definitely think that tomorrow's matchup between Maryland and South Carolina is definitely going to be a good one. But like you said, the rebounding aspect, I mean, at the end of the day, I was always told offense sell tickets, defense win game, rebounding win championships. And so Maryland's going to have their work cut out for them on the glass. But I think the athleticism part, they definitely check that box. Defense, they check that box. Offense, they check that box as well. It's just the rebounding aspect that I just think that South Carolina they just overbear you with their size and just getting on the glass.
Anything else, Troy?
Nope. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, the phone line. I think I got the phone line working, folks. So we had somebody on hold here a second ago and hung up. So go ahead and give us a call back. Our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line, 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. And I'm going to grab the official box score as we head to our next super chat here from Danimal. Thank you, Danimal. Can't go as high as Lemansky, but go Hawks. Very much appreciated, Danimal. Thank you for being here. And, of course, both Lemansky and Danimal are premium subscribers, a couple of our premium subscribers. So thank you for your support, and thank you for the super chat, Danimal. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got Tony on hold. Tony, welcome to the show.
I'm going to try to make this work. I'm sorry, Corey. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you, sir.
I am celebrating. Today is actually my 40th birthday, like today. And my wife surprised me. Thank you. We're down in Phoenix catching spring training games. And you told me that 4-letter word going on. So I don't know if I want to fly back tomorrow. So
it all melted. No worries, Troy or Tony. It basically all melted, but it was pretty ugly this morning.
Tonight, so you were on the team tonight when they were recruiting Caitlin, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did that go and everything? Like, who was in charge of her recruitment and stuff like that? What's recruiting like on the women's side?
So Jensen, she normally covers Iowa, the state of Iowa. She'll always talk to the recruit, the parents, as well as the AAU travel team coach. And so just because she has great relationships with everyone in Iowa. So Coach Jay was her main point of contact. And so every now and again, you would see Caitlin on campus at one of our workouts or practices, just watching, just seeing how we did things on the court in that aspect. And so that's kind of how Caitlin's recruitment went when I was there. I know things kind of picked up a little bit more the next year in which I left, because she was in a lot of contact with Kathleen Doyle at that time. Caitlin was. And so Kathleen really got that deal done. But as far as recruiting on the women's side, it's a lot. It's kind of changing now with the portal. I think a lot of universities are their first default is going to the portal first, and then high school kids. And so it's kind of taking a hit on the high school kids. And I hate that, but that's just how this portal thing is working, reaching out to kids every single day, getting calls back, getting texts back. And if you do, you just take it and run with it.
And I think, like you said on that last show, like, you're checking it every hour. I mean, that's how crazy it is that things just change that quickly. And, I didn't see it much. I don't follow that many people on the women's beat in Twitter, but I do on the men's. And like hearing all those teams that are still in the tournament recruiting the portal guys while they're still playing in the tournament. Absolutely. It's like, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And then there's something that someone put up, the women's Final Fours and completes, they can't put this up, but for the men's, it was something like 60 or 65% of the starters are portal people for the Final Four teams.
Yeah.
It just
look at real quick. Hey, Tony, look at Texas. And I know they squandered their chance at the Final Four. Their guard court, we always say guards win championships. Their guard court made up of Marcus Carr, former Gopher star, and Tyrese Hunter, former Cyclone star. So yeah, it's the name of the game, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
But it's just sad because I love the developing and getting to know the people for the 4 years they were there, and you're just unfortunately not going to see that anymore.
Absolutely.
So,
I know.
Did you? Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was just going to say it's tough. I don't like it either, just because of the relationship part. Like you said, you can build a relationship with these kids, and then 1 to 2 years into their college career, they just decide, hey, I'm gonna go somewhere else. And so it's tough on us, but it comes with the job.
Did you try to get Tania to commit to post-game Final Four shows so we can keep this streak going, Corey?
I have not.
I'll be in Dallas for the Final Four. So
are you going to the? You're going to
Yeah.
the Final Four?
Yeah. Yep.
When did this happen? Like the 10 minutes after the game between the show starting and what?
No. So during the Final Four, there's a big coaches convention. So basically, if you're not in the Final Four, if you're not playing, all the coaches get together, go to workshops, clinics like that. So I was going for that. But as soon as that final horn went off, I definitely sent some text messages. Hey, how can I get some tickets? Because I'm already going to be down there. So
there you go. There you go, Tony. Yeah. We everybody good we get here ends up. That's like when Gary was on here and he ends up going to the Big Ten tournament. So that's good. That means we're doing something right, I guess. So.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks for your time, guys. I'll watch the show, and I enjoy the ride. And I do agree with Ryan. This is, in my 40 years, the best Hawkeye sports moment we've had. So,
thank you, Tony. Appreciate the call, sir. Travel safely. All right. How big was Hannah Stuelke tonight? Got a few more minutes from her, Tania, and let me give you the official number. Hannah had 19 minutes. She looked obviously better, and maybe you even said something a couple nights ago that perhaps Lisa was ready to cut her loose 2 nights ago, and maybe Hannah wasn't ready to trust that ankle. Seemed like she was ready tonight, fought, took a big hit late in the game. But looked, for the most part, herself, which is what you wanted, what you needed, and certainly what you need come Friday.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the biggest stages of her life, of her young career. And so I couldn't imagine her at least not testing it out again today with the possibility of going to the Final Four. But, I mean, she was huge. She was huge. Her athleticism is exactly what Iowa needed. You saw her a couple times block shots and then be the first person down on the other end. And so just things like that is just what Hannah brings to the game, what she brings to this team that can switch things up a little bit. Whereas, I mean, no disrespect to Mon, but I mean, she's not going to beat Hannah in a sprint, a foot race. And so during those times when Mon is on the floor, Caitlin will have to pull back sometimes. And, you can't really run that much. You can't really run that fast because you have Monica out there. But, when Hannah gets out there, Caitlin can get the rebound and just throw it down there and trust that Hannah is going to be down there and run up under it and shoot the layup. So Hannah was huge. And I knew she would definitely try to test it out a little bit more being on this big stage.
I see a comment here from Eric. He says, trying to post a super chat. YouTube is not letting me. I do see one in here from you, Eric. Let's get to that one. I just see one. I don't see 3. So appreciate the one that went through. I hope none of the other 2 didn't go through. Eric says, appreciate your dedication to cover these late post-game shows. Corey, go Hawks. Appreciate that, Eric. And again, more thanks to Tania for being here because believe me, if she wasn't here, I don't know. I know there'd be some people. I never understand why there's people on here that want to listen to me rant for 2 hours. But it's always nice to have somebody who's a lot smarter than me about the game of basketball to talk about the game of basketball. So we appreciate Tania being here. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Hey, John.
If it's helping a bunch.
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody could hear you on Tania's end. Let's re-ask the question. I think we got you now, John. Can you try to asking that question again, please?
Well, I was just wondering, as far as recruiting, with all the attention and game day at Carver and everything, if this is going to open a lot more doors as far as high school and portal recruits.
The way recruiting is going now, like I said, for like a small school like myself, we'll definitely hit the portal for sure. But like Iowa, your culture and what you've been known to do for 23 years that Bluter has been there is recruit high school kids and develop them for 4 years. And so I don't think so much a portal would help a program like Iowa, just because that's not who they are. You know, they don't look for those type of players. They don't look to bring in different personalities every single year, unless they're high school kids and they can learn under a Kaylin, a Gabby, a Monica, things like that. But I definitely think the way that recruiting is going now is definitely going to the transfer portal. Louisville had a couple transfers on their team. Heck, we're trying to get a couple transfers here at UNO. And so, I think we referenced the men's side earlier. K-State, they had a couple transfers. Texas have a couple transfers. And so I definitely think the portal is just, unfortunately, the way of the world, as opposed to getting those high school kids and just developing them and bringing them up and teaching them everything that we know.
Do you think this, Tania, is turning a lot of heads of high school players that might not normally have given Iowa a look?
Oh, I definitely think so. I think for sure they're going to the Final Four. Every kid nowadays, they want to play for the top programs because they want to go to the pros. And so previously, in years past, it's always been, you go to UConn, you go to Baylor, you go to Tennessee, your chances of going pro are pretty high. And so now everything is more diverse. The playing field is kind of even when it comes to college women's basketball now. And so I definitely think them making it to the Final Four, them just the score didn't show it at the end, but I mean, I personally think that they outplayed Louisville for sure for a full 40 minutes and blew them out. I would say personally, like I said, the score didn't show that, but a huge win like that, winning the Big Ten tournament again. And so those things, they definitely turn heads to recruits because right now recruits really just want to be a part of winning programs, winning programs and just jumping into something that's already have a strong foundation. And so I think Iowa going to the Final Four, this definitely turns a lot more heads than probably what it did a couple weeks ago. Heck, a couple years ago even.
Okay. Hey, Corey, if your choices were Michigan, Iowa beats Michigan when they were 1-2 when Rob Houtman kicked a field goal, the night we blew out Ohio State and Kinnick, and this, how would you rank them 1 through 3?
Well, John, I wasn't alive in 1985. That's a great question. I mean, I first of all, 1985. I've got I'm good friends with Don Patterson. Obviously, that's a legendary night in Hawkeye lore. But that is a regular season game. You brought up, what was the other one you brought up?
The night they blew out Ohio State, like 55-17.
Like great moment, but that doesn't do a whole lot. Like great moment, don't get me wrong, but they went 8-5 that year. And it is apples to oranges when we're talking football to basketball. So I would say, I mean, we all have the sports that we tend to favor. I mean, there's about 400 people watching our show right now, which is probably a record for live viewership for a women's show that we've had on here. And that makes sense. But I'm sure there's a few hundred people or a couple hundred people who are watching this show right now, John, who would probably typically not watch because they're more interested in other sports. And there's probably there are plenty of people who watch our football content who would normally not watch our men's basketball content. So I guess my point is it really is apples to oranges. And so me as a fan, I would say, as a Hawkeye fan in general, I mean, this is, again, I don't know how you could possibly take any regular season game and put it above a trip to the Final Four. But as a biased person who maybe favors a certain sport, I can see where someone could do that. But I'm not a wrestling guy. I mean, obviously wrestling. There's unbelievable history and national titles, and what Spencer Lee's done has been incredible. This is right up there at the top for me as far as my Hawkeye lifetime. There's no question.
My son started watching Iowa women's basketball last season. I got to tell him, hey, the women scored 100, and he finally started watching them this year, and he told me he'd rather watch women than the men now.
Well, here's the deal. Tania, I'm sure you'd agree with this, that women's basketball, women's college basketball especially, the more exposure, the better. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
And regardless, like Caitlin Clark, regardless of how you feel about her antics and her showboating, and sometimes she does showboat a little bit. She's got that chip on her shoulder, not ripping her. I think she's probably a great person. I don't know Caitlin, but regardless of how you feel about her, I know some people out there that don't like that. It rubs them the wrong way, whatever. You cannot deny the fact that Caitlin Clark is great for the game, and it's great for Iowa. Like, those two things, she is giving Iowa. So, like, if you're Iowa, no wonder she is making as much as she's making with NIL.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good chance she's here for 5 years. I think she stays as long as she possibly can, because I think she'll make more with NIL as a college basketball player than she will in the WNBA, Tania, or overseas. Is that fair? You've tested the market. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. That's definitely accurate. And you see a lot of these kids who would be a first round pick. I know Rakia Jackson out of Tennessee. She's definitely a first round pick, but she's going back to Tennessee because of her development. But let's be honest, she's also making, like you said, way more money than she would in the WNBA. Because when you get to the WNBA, well, we know Caitlin will make a team and stay on a team. But when you get to the WNBA, there's no guarantee that you're going to make a team consistently. And so we know, like I said, we know Caitlin will for sure. But I definitely like all the exposure that Iowa's getting, all the exposure that college women's basketball is getting. Yes, a lot of that is you can thank Caitlin for that, because she's shooting the three from the logo. No one in the women's game has done that.
Right.
And so you hear Stephen A on ESPN comparing her and calling her the Steph Curry of the women's game. And so now you have Steph Curry tweeting about it. Now you have Kevin Durant. And so now you have all these NBA guys tweeting about it. Now it just brings more exposure because she's your favorite player's favorite player. And so now you want to see why. Yeah. And so all this exposure is great for Iowa, is great for the game. And hopefully people continue to support it, and it'll just continue to flourish.
And going back to NIL, that is, if you're a Hawkeye fan and you love Iowa women's basketball, you have to. There are frustrations about NIL and how it's been monitored or not monitored and not regulated. But here's the bottom line, folks: if it wasn't for NIL, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark hasn't said she's going to be here for all 5 years, but I say I think there's a good chance she is, and I don't think that'd happen with NIL.
Yeah,
she might leave early. I mean, she may leave after this year if it wasn't for NIL.
Absolutely.
But now she can make money. That's the great thing about name, image, and likeness. There are negatives and there are a lot of positives, and Caitlin Clark is a perfect example of the positive, and it helps not only Clark make a lot of money while she's here, but it does great, great, great things for Iowa. Anything else, John?
Well, just Caitlin, she did an interview and she talked about that, and she said between the WNBA salaries and the NIL, she can make as much money in the pros as she's making at the University of Iowa, and that she's going to have to make a decision next year.
Well, she says that. I bet you she stays, but I bet you she stays not only this next year, but I think she'll stay the following year as well. I don't know if that's accurate. Maybe that's accurate, but I think she's got things pretty good in Iowa City. Again, I don't know, but if she's probably done the research, that may be true. But heck, she's got NIL deals with Hy-Vee, with Buick, you go down the list, and she's internationally sellable now, Tania. It's not a matter of Iowa.
Yeah.
She is selling international deal. I mean, there's no question about it. She has changed the game nationally.
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely has. And so her name is going to attract so much money. She's with Nike as well. And so that in itself, that's going to bring a big check, because elite athletes are with Nike. And so this, like you said, there's positives, there's negatives, but for her, this is a huge positive. I honestly don't see her going anywhere, just because of the money that she can accumulate at Iowa.
Yeah. I'm not calling her a liar, John. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, of course, she's going to say, I have options. And she does have options. She's going to be successful regardless of what she does. But I'm just saying, without NIL, I think there's almost guarantee she's not staying here for 5 years. Because regardless of maybe some athleticism, I don't know how high she's going to be drafted. I just don't know how she doesn't translate to the WNBA. How can you have the range that she has and the ball handling skills and the vision and all these things and not translate to the WNBA tonight?
It definitely will. I mean, it definitely will. I mean, you got WNBA players are fans of hers, saying that she can go to the league now and dominate. And so it definitely will. When she gets there, it's obviously going to be exciting and fun to watch, but we'll see. We'll see what she decides to do here.
I talked to a lady up on the concourse that worked in the athletic department for the University of Iowa, and she said Jensen and Lisa Bluter and Caitlin Clark were the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. So I'm glad they're high character people as well as successful.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, Brand, thank you for reminding everybody. Please hit that like button. If you're here, you're watching the show, it's almost midnight here in the Central Time Zone. Please hit the like button, the little thumbs up button as we plug along here. And, of course, tell others, maybe take a moment to share it on social media, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you social media. Please do that, and helps the show and the algorithm as well. Jason, team was on fire tonight. Hope it keeps going to a championship. Great job, ladies. Go Hawks. Thank you, Jason. Couldn't agree more. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line with DW. DW, how you doing? DW, you here? Going once, going twice. I think you're muted. Let's try it again.
Okay. I'm here. Sorry, I had a slow connection.
You're good. You're good. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Hey, Corey, I used to call in a couple last year with the Iowa men's team. Since moved out to Washington State. Unfortunately, I was not able to go see the ladies play tonight. Had some health issues, but was able to watch them on the TV. So just happy for the Hawks. And good to see Coach Tania. I miss you as a Hawk. Loved watching you play. I've been watching the ladies play for probably going on 7-8 years now, pretty consistently. Love seeing the team perform. I posted a question in the chat. I don't know if it ever got popped up, but Coach, I wanted to ask you a question. Iowa had a good lead, 15-point lead, 3 minutes to go in the game, and it just seemed like they slowed their offense completely down. They stopped doing what they were doing to get where they were at 15-point lead, 20-point lead, and we saw Louisville start coming back because of their defensive pressure on the half-court side. Why does a team do that? Not just Iowa. I mean, it seems like Iowa does it a lot, but why does teams do that instead of just keeping the foot on the pedal just to keep? Because it seems to me it's a no-brainer. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of teams do that just to run the clock out. And so, we can use tonight as an example. So, tonight, you would rather pull the clock out, pull the ball out, run some clock, get a good shot that you want, as opposed to continuously hitting, fast breaks. I know that's what got you to that point against Louisville. But now I want to play smart basketball. I want to take the shots that I want. I don't want to risk any turnovers. I don't want to risk doing anything crazy. And so you'll see a lot of teams pull it out, slow it down, use some clock, which is wise, but truthfully, it never works. It never works. As you saw tonight, it never worked. Like, it doesn't work. It allows the other team to intensify their defense and get their pressure going. And then that's when you see the momentum swing. And so personally, I don't necessarily like that. Unless you have someone like a point guard, and this is no disrespect to Caitlin, but we know Caitlin likes to do home run stuff a lot. And so, like, if you have a point guard who is just simply out there to be a point guard and a coach on the floor and just not really necessarily worried about the home runs, but more so just worried about just securing the win. And like I said, this is no disrespect to Caitlin. We just know that the way that she plays the game, she plays it at a really, really fast pace. And so stalling, as you may want to call it, it never necessarily works, in my opinion. Anytime that, I've tried it as a player, anytime I've tried it as a coach, anytime that I watch other teams and coaches do it, it just never necessarily works. But typically you're doing that to run the clock out, just because obviously the clock is your friend. And you kind of want to play keep away and just maintain your lead.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, maybe I'm a little got some PTSD from Iowa football doing that too often, and I just see we lose the lead doing that. So, but
DW, please don't compare Kirk Ferentz's offensive philosophy. Please.
Hey, just one other thing, and I'll get off here to the last caller who asked about the three, for him, the three great moments in Hawkeye sports, right? History, the 85 number 1, number 2 game, Iowa, Michigan, and then Ohio State in this tonight. Tonight, actually, for me, I'm just going to let everybody know, is number 2 for me. The greatest one is 85. I was at that time I was 13 years old, and I got to see that game live, my first live game at Iowa. I had won football tickets in my Sunday school to go with my dad and my pastor to that game, and to see Iowa win, and to see Iowa be ranked number 1, beat the number 2 team after 30 years of unbelievable, horrible football prior to that. So to me, that will always be number 1 probably, but that's just me. But tonight is definitely number 2 to see this Iowa team have a legitimate shot at, I think, winning the national championship. I think if they play either Maryland or South Carolina, Iowa has a really good shot at winning beating either one of those teams in the next game. So go Hawks and
real quick,
let
DW,
you go.
before I let you go, what you just said, I absolutely believe you're being forthright, and obviously we're all different because of our ages and circumstances. If Iowa beats South Carolina on Friday, assuming South Carolina beats Maryland, if Iowa somehow gives South Carolina its first loss of the season and Iowa advances to the national title game, that is the biggest win in Iowa basketball history, men or women. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And if they do that, I'll be honest with you, no matter who they play next game, if they go to the national championship, that's going to be the best Hawkeye sports moment ever. I don't care, wrestling, football, men's basketball, women's field hockey. I mean, there's a lot of things to celebrate with Iowa sports. The baseball team winning the Big Ten a few years ago, making the World Series. I mean, there's all kinds of great sports moments. And if Iowa women's basketball goes to the championship game, doesn't matter who they play or who they beat to get there, just going to that game is going to be the best thing in Iowa sports history.
Yeah, absolutely, DW. Thank you for calling, sir. And please call back during football season.
All right, take care.
Thank you, sir. All right. Again, we appreciate everybody being here. We still got about 350 people on here as we approach the midnight hour, so we appreciate that. Tonight, are you hanging tight? You're doing okay? You're not dozing off here?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good.
Cool.
Yeah, so I know I was just calling. I'm excited to see Iowa in Dallas. Looking forward to it. I want to say that I think Caitlin Clark is obviously amazing. Hello?
Yep, we got you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I do want to say that I think there is a dichotomy between men and women where the parity in the teams are a little bit different. So I think you're seeing that certainly this year, where men, any team can win, right? Like Florida Atlantic Owls or San Diego Aztecs. The Power Five doesn't really parlay into what it used to. Whereas with women, I mean, a good team is going to be more or less a lesser team. There are upsets, but not nearly as much. I'm only making that argument because I feel like that is the uphill struggle. You'd almost have to play like NBA, best of 3, best of 5 for the national to really see the best team. That aside, Caitlin Clark is a legend. I'm super excited for her career. And I think I did read in the paper, she said she wanted to come back for Iowa for the 5th year, not NIL related.
Not NIL related. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Correct.
if she said that publicly. I'm not doubting your honesty on that. By the way, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The Florida Atlantic conversation, San Diego State. I mean, San Diego State's a 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like they were
right.
Florida Atlantic.
And they've always played great defense.
Yeah, low seed, and there were upsets. Well, I mean, let's acknowledge there were a number of upsets on the women's side, more than you would typically expect. You have Stanford losing
Correct.
to what did they lose to they lost to an 8, right? In Ole Miss. You have let's see, you have Miami upsetting number 1 Indiana and number 4 Villanova.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just running through some other first round results. You got 11 seed that won. There were a number of you got Toledo,
but nothing like the men's.
No, well, I guess if you're talking about Cinderella stories, I guess, but Toledo's a 12, beat Iowa State as a 5. I mean, yeah, you're right. The Final Four, regardless of what happens with South Carolina, Maryland tomorrow, and of course the other games, Virginia Tech, Ohio State. You're right. Seed wise, you still have an average that's much higher as far as better seeds, right? Higher rated seeds on the women's side than the men's side. I agree with that, but I do think the women's game has evened out to an extent due to the transfer portal as well. And I don't want to just make I see all these people on social media talking about how, well, everything's different now because of the transfer portal and the men's game is completely balanced. Let's not forget we had 4 blue bloods in the Final Four last year.
Yeah.
So let's pump the brakes on it's changed everything. And we got to have a bigger sample size than 1 year. We had 4 blue bloods in the Final Four last year on the men's side. So we'll see. I mean, tournament's crazy. It's one, as you said, David, it's you're one and done. When you go home, it is what it is. It's not a 3 or 5 or 7 game series. So there is more balance on the men's side now, I think, due to NIL and due to the transfer portal, but there is a shift occurring.
So as it pertains to Caitlin Clark, the only thing I can say, because I don't have any firsthand knowledge and henceforth this is hearsay, but I did have to give a ride to a guy from New York that helps the kids financially when they graduate or put their money in a certain way. And one of the people in that room, he said, was Caitlin Clark. And he said, Caitlin Clark, he didn't even know who she was, more or less. She wasn't very vocal. Like she kept a low head, even though she probably is one of the biggest stars at Iowa. So that is, again, hearsay. But I have no reason to doubt this gentleman's statement. And I just want to say that I think that she is just who she is. She's an Iowa kid, wants to push Iowa as far as she can, and loves the game. And I think that she'll probably go down Like Michael Jordan went down for North Carolina, and we saw what that did for North Carolina. So I certainly hope, obviously, that Iowa can have something like that for the women's game. But yeah, I think she's amazing in her own right.
Absolutely, David.
Yep.
Thank you for calling in, sir. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. And go Iowa. I'm excited to see him in Dallas. I'll be flying down there. All right. Later, guys.
Go Hawks, brother. Thank you.
Nice.
All right. Let's get to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. Am I missing anything? I know we've been taking calls back to back here tonight. Am I missing anything? Is there anything that you feel that we haven't brought up yet? I mean, we get to more here. We're an hour plus now. I don't want to keep you up all night. So is there anything that you can think of before we get to our next caller that I've missed?
No, I don't think so. I think so far we've pretty much hit the nail on the head for sure. So
we'll run through the box score here in a little bit. Chris, thank you for the super chat. It's a great night to be a Hawk. If we play South Carolina, that reminds me of the Wisconsin-Kentucky men's Final Four game that Coach Gary Close coached in. Kentucky was undefeated. Wisconsin was a team of destiny. Let's win it. Appreciate the super chat, Chris. Thank you for being here and for supporting the show. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Drill MVP is with us. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, Corey. Hello, Coach. Thank you for coming back on.
Absolutely.
Congrats for Iowa for the win. I think the main difference was Iowa hit 16 threes and Louisville only hit 8 threes.
Oh, for sure.
Some of those threes Caitlin Clark hit, I believe she's the only player in the country that could have hit those threes. That one where there was no offensive movement or anything, and she just hoisted it up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that was curtains right there.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
let's be honest, she does that a lot. All right. I mean, she's not only shooting, 28 footers routinely, 30 footers. She's also doing it off step backs. I mean, she's a unique talent. I mean, that's why we keep saying she's changed the game.
Yeah. Step backs with a hand in her face. Every way, like off the bounce. These aren't stationary shots. These are like highly contested, very difficult shots that she's making. So, like you said, she's definitely changing the game.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I thought Louisville played a pretty good game, except for a few minutes in the third quarter, where they had turnovers that led to easy transition buckets. But I thought the relative rest of the game, I thought Louisville was shooting, creating some good movement, hitting some difficult shots. But Iowa just has that if factor in that next gear that almost no team in the country has. And I think if they play like this, I really think they can beat South Carolina. And I think Iowa has something no other team has, is which they can just spread the offense, and they can cause South Carolina to have to play so deep that I don't think they've seen all year.
Yeah.
And Drill MVP, let's just give some context to Tania here. Drill MVP, he's a Kentucky fan, so he's got a pretty good feel for the SEC. So you do believe, Drill MVP, you do believe that the Iowa team you watched tonight can hang with the Gamecocks?
Yes, I think they would be the South Carolina's best challenge. Coach, had Iowa in the Final Four. Just wanted to say I had them in the Final Four. Some of us on this panel didn't believe, but I believed in Iowa.
I'm assuming you're not talking about me, so
I'll take it. I'll take it, Drill MVP. Happy to be wrong.
It's okay, Corey. They just had the best player in the region.
Yeah. That's very true.
I'm going to ask you a question about nationally. That's been asked a lot. That's a hard question.
Okay.
Is the UConn dynasty dead?
I think so. I think they're done. I think obviously this year you see them losing in the Sweet 16, but I mean, you don't have Paige, right? And she's a national powerhouse. Like, kid can play. I mean, we saw it last year in the tournament. She can really, really play, but I think the dynasty is over. And when I say this, I mean them constantly getting to the Final Four, winning back-to-back championships. I think that is over just because I as I mentioned before earlier, the lay of the land when it comes to women's basketball, like it's very spread out. It's even. Now you have South Carolina's, you have Iowa's getting there. We're talking about LSU now. And so I think that the dynasty is over. I don't think anyone fears UConn anymore in the way that they did. And so I definitely think that the dynasty of UConn is over. If anything, I think it's kind of tipping more towards South Carolina, just because, I mean, I see all these 5-star recruits, McDonald's All-Americans going to South Carolina every single year and coming out early. Chloe Kitts did it. And so I think it's over. I think it's over for them. But I also think that it's really, really good for the game of women's basketball.
Okay. I wasn't expecting just a direct, honest answer like that from a coach. I appreciate
it. Yeah, no problem.
And, you know, the team that knocked them out was Ohio State. The Big Ten, we got to give them credit because everybody blasts the Big Ten on the men's side because they can't get a team in the Final Four, it feels like, or win the national championship. So in the women's side, they've got 3 of the Elite 8 teams. They got 1 Final Four, maybe 2, possibly 3. I mean, we got to give them credit. Are they the best conference in women's college basketball this year?
I've been saying it. I've been saying it all year just because now, and this is no disrespect to Illinois, now Illinois was always you might as well chalk that up as 2 W's every single year, and now they're ranked nationally, and so you have to get up for every single game in the Big Ten, and it's going to be very rare that you win a Big Ten game in a blowout fashion. And so yes, all the other conferences are strong. I think the ACC was down this year. I think the SEC was good, but I mean, all you really heard about was South Carolina and LSU the entire time. And so whereas the Big Ten, you constantly hear about the Indianas who got a number 1 seed, the Marylands, the Ohio State, who was ranked number 2 nationally for quite a bit of time there. And then obviously Iowa. And so I definitely think the Big Ten is by far the toughest conference in college women's basketball right now.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Corey's pulled up the box score. The only thing I will say is to nitpick Iowa's performance, and I know with the great performance they had, I didn't like how the centers, the bigs, got in foul trouble. I thought if they got in foul trouble against Louisville, if they play South Carolina, who I think has much better bigs, I think that can be a real issue.
You think they have much better bigs, Drill MVP?
I'm going out on a limb.
So first of all, that's why I keep saying Hannah Stuelke is so important. She's got to be healthy. Yes, Iowa's dealt with some foul trouble for its bigs. We saw a little bit of Stuelke and Sonano together tonight. I had predicted that we'd see more of that. I think we would have seen more of that last game against Colorado had Stuelke been ready to go or feeling better. And I know she played just under 2 minutes in that game. So you're right. I mean, your thoughts on the foul trouble, Tania? Is that a concern for you, especially moving forward against a big team that can get you into foul trouble like South Carolina?
Absolutely. That is a huge concern. I think Monica cannot go out early with any type of fouls just because that is South Carolina's, if they win, South Carolina's bread and butter, post play. And so you're going to need Monica out there to at least challenge, an Aaliyah Boston and try to get her in foul trouble that way, or, bring in Hannah Stuelke, try to beat Aaliyah Boston off the dribble. But post players, they definitely cannot get in foul trouble whatsoever next game because they're going to be big in the semifinals and in the championship.
Yeah, I've got 2 more things. Obviously, the Ava Jones saga with Louisville, that was a powerful connection. I'm glad they highlighted that on the network. And the story of Jeff Walsh having a booster give a card to Ava Jones' family, that was a really awesome move by the University of Louisville. Whoever booster that was, thank you for doing that for them. I'm sure they needed it.
Yes.
And how they handled the whole situation, I thought was pretty classy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm obviously a coach now, and so I see and hear the good things that goes on in this business. And so I've heard nothing but good things about Jeff Walsh and his character. And so it really doesn't surprise me that he did that for the Jones family. And I'm actually really, really happy and proud that he stepped up and tried to figure out a way in which he can help. So kudos to Jeff Walsh and Louisville all around. They've always been a class act in my book.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll mention is the basketball related is Caitlin Clark. They showed her knees in like the fourth quarter when she was shooting free throws, and it looked like she had pretty obvious bruises on her knees.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a concern going forward?
I don't think so. I just think that, I mean, you also heard the commentators saying that Bluter talked with Caitlin about hitting the floor so much, and so I think that just comes from that. I don't think it's really much of a concern. I just think those are just like floor burns, and as I call them, war wounds, and just going out there and battling and competing and laying it all out there on the line for your team. So I don't think it's much of a concern. I think she'll be fine.
Well, she is a warrior, so I guess it'd be appropriate for her.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming back. Thanks, Corey, for letting me rant and rave for a few minutes, and have a great rest of your show.
Thank you, Jerome. We appreciate the call as always. All right, let's keep plugging along here as we get to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here with Tania Davis, who's on the line.
This is Kyle. I'm from Waterloo.
Hey, Kyle.
Hi. Wow, that was that was a great game, and I went to sleep on the last 2 minutes. But I'm thankful to watch and look at the score. I was like, wow, this is great.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen this since '93, the C. Vivian's team with Tony Foster, and I forgot the other players. I think it might have been, was it Molly Tybeck? Was she on that team? I can't remember.
Like I said earlier in the show, I a little bit before I was even a twinkle in my mother's eye. Tania, do you know anything about that '93 team?
I don't. I know I should probably know my Iowa women's basketball history a little bit better, but
you guys were close to doing this here. I mean, I know you ran into a buzzsaw against a really good Baylor team a few years ago, but you guys were the next closest to doing what this team has done.
Yeah. Yep. We were. So that was a fun time. I actually just talked to Megan before the game, and so we talked about that a little bit. But yeah, like you said, that Baylor team was tough, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I also thought.
Did we lose you? Can you hear me, Tania?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did we lose you, caller? Okay, I don't think one more time. I think we had a brief reprieve in our connection. Can you hear me, caller? Okay, I'm not able to hear him, so we'll go on to our next caller. We'll see if we can get him back, and I think we lost him as well. So I apologize. That's on my end. Give us a call back, 515-635-1601. I believe. All right, let's go back to our phone lines. Do we have you back, caller?
Hey, Corey, this is Will. I'm different from the original caller that you lost, I think.
Okay, that's fine. Will, go ahead. You're on the air with us, sir.
Hey, good to talk to you again. Hey, I just want to say Gabby Marshall, I mean, she might be the, sniper with the eyes, but she plays a heck of a defense. I mean, she is locked down. That, I think you put up my comment earlier, but that offense runs through Haley there for Louisville, and she was on her the entire night. Yeah, she got hers. We knew that was going to happen, but she wasn't able to facilitate with Gabby on her. She wasn't able to get facilitated to her very often, other than some hard screens. So I think an unsung hero, not only the shots, but her defense was phenomenal tonight, and it has been this year, and especially in the tournament here. But the one question that I wanted to kind of pose is so not if, but when Lisa wins the national championship here, where are they going to put the statue? Next to Dan Gable, or move him over a little bit to the wrestling area?
I don't know.
They got at least another week to figure that out. Will.
For sure.
Man, yeah. I mean, I know we're jumping the gun on that, but it is incredible to think of the journey here over the last couple of weeks, and for a bunch of Iowa fans tonight that have been waiting for this on the men's side for a long time, have got to a second weekend of the tournament in this century. Think about that. The men's team hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since '99. You're well aware of that. So it is incredible, and we can't take it for granted. And I'll continue to say that to people all week. And Will, I would say it to you, and I know you don't need me to remind you of this, but just enjoy the next few days and enjoy the hype and the conversation around this team, because man, it's hard to get to this point.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. I mean, all Iowa fans kind of need to take a step back, I think, and just be real appreciative not only of Coach Jay, Coach Bluter, the entire team, Caitlin Clark. I mean, we're not going to see somebody like Caitlin, unless maybe Chad Greenway's daughter hops in to the Iowa program. But I think we get like caught up in it thinking like, hey, it's Caitlin, that's what she does. But I mean, she just did something that no one has ever done, ever. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Last thing I just wanted to leave you with, and get you other callers. I can't hop in here without talking just a smidgen of football. And I did steal this one, but tonight is the 5th time this season that Caitlin Clark has scored more points than the 2022 Iowa football team did in any of its games. So I'll just keep with the same mantra I always have: is fire Brian Ferentz. Have a great night. Go Hawks.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate that, sir. Well, we almost got through a whole show without mention of Brian Ferentz tonight. So, you're disconnected from the Iowa program. Can I ask you, what are your thoughts on Brian Ferentz?
Listen.
Can you answer that with a straight face?
Apparently not. But I am a fan of football. I have a younger brother. He plays football. He's a wide receiver. And so I'm very knowledgeable about football. And I don't like the style that we play. It's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to stay locked in for a full game. I don't like it. There's a philosophy behind it, apparently. I don't know. I don't know that much about it.
It wins a lot of games. Wins a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
To an extent, right?
Yeah, to an extent. But personally, I'm not a fan of our style of play. I wish we would just do a little bit more than run. I think our defense is phenomenal. Sometimes I do feel bad for our defense because I feel like we rely on our defense a little too much. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a spectator.
I think we're all spectators. I think that's fair, and defense and special teams. We'll have those conversations once March Madness is over. All we have to talk about. I shouldn't say all we have to. That's unfair to the baseball team and unfair to. But basically, what we're going to be talking about is spring football. Yeah. So I'm going to enjoy basketball while it's here. Yeah. And, Erica, we appreciate the super chat, Erica. The ladies get under every team's skin. Every team they beat ends up playing sloppy at the end when they realize that they've lost. Very interesting. And part of that is when you're ahead and you're trying to press and you're trying to make quick shots and you're trying to score from behind the 3-point line. Of course, that can cause you to get sped up and make mistakes, obviously. So, and Iowa, I give Iowa credit because defensively early, I didn't think they were very good. And I mentioned that not only just the 8-0 run, but the 3-point defense was not great tonight. It didn't need to be great. And honestly, tonight, it probably doesn't need to really ever be great because how many shooters this Iowa team has, when you're scoring them, and I know they're not going to score 97 every night.
Yeah.
They just need to be average on the defensive end. And I thought most of today they were average, and that was by far good enough.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. They were just average. But it was good enough because we're such a offensive powerhouse that we can just put up 97 points and just be average. And so the average was good enough to get by today. I think The average, personally, in my opinion, for the rest of the tournament might be good enough to get by. Just because when you look at some of these teams that are left in the tournament, I personally think that we could just outscore them. And so you can afford to be just average on the defensive end, especially when you're hitting these shots. When Caitlin gives you a 40-point game, and Gabby and McKenna, they come up big in those situations. So you can afford to be average, but obviously you don't want to have a lot of mental mistakes pile up to the point where now you're in a slug fight, and now you got to be a little bit better than average.
Right.
So
this is my interpretation of things, folks, for when because I've had some good amount of time to think about this. When you compare Fran McCaffrey's teams and Lisa Bluder's teams, and I'm specifically talking about this season, all right, this last calendar season. So when I look at the men's team, you have very similar characteristics. You have a team that's pretty reliant on the three-point shot. You obviously, the men, they did not have a superstar like Caitlin Clark. There's a big difference there. Had a really good post player in Philippa Bracha, just like with Monica Sonano on the women's side. They struggle to rebound at times, just like the women struggle to rebound at times.
Mm-hmm.
They like to switch up the defense quite a bit. They're not great in any defensive set, I don't think. But I think the difference is I don't think there are many teams in women's college basketball right now that can even come close to what Iowa does offensively. And so Iowa's really good offensively, but there's just not many teams that has many shooters with the post play and someone like Caitlin Clark. Whereas in the men's game, yeah, Fran McCaffrey's teams can score with the best of them, but there's also a lot of other teams out there that can score a lot of points. They can get up and down the court. And especially when you're not playing defense, they're going to take advantage of it. I think there is a difference with the game. And I think we've seen, I think the tournament recent history for the men has proven that the men have to be average to get by. I think the women, Tania, there have been games, and I mean, go back to the Georgia game. I think there have been games they've won in this tournament where they've been below average on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I think what you said is absolutely true. I think they can probably win this tournament with average defense.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to, can they get McKenna and Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall going from behind the arc? And can Caitlin Clark stay healthy? And can they figure out a way to compensate for double teams that are claps down on Monica Sonano?
Yeah.
I really do. And I hate to say that because I want to see a balanced game, but that's okay. I mean, like, this is how you win. And Lisa Bluder has figured out a formula here. They're 2 games away from a national championship. I'm certainly not going to question how they do things, but I do think there's a specific difference with these two teams, these two programs, relative to the sports that they compete in. I hope that explanation made sense. But I agree with you tonight. I think you play average defense from here on out. South Carolina is not going to kill you. I mean, they're not going to put up 90, 100 points. They're just not going to do it. If you can hang with them offensively, if you can run your stuff, shoot a decent percentage, and not get absolutely destroyed on the glass,
yeah,
you're going to have a chance because they don't score a ton of points.
Yep. You
That's
get that.
what Brad wants to say in the chat. He says, does Iowa stand a chance against South Carolina? Absolutely stand a chance against South Carolina. It may not be South Carolina. I think Maryland stands a chance against the Gamecocks tomorrow. Ishmael brings this up. We have 3 Big Ten teams left in the tournament. So how about my fortune, Tania? 2 days ago, I sat here and I said, hey, look, Iowa's the last team in the Big Ten. And then me out for it. And I'm like, that's all right. The other 2 teams are going to lose tomorrow anyways. They both win. One upsets UConn. The other takes down Notre Dame. So we got 3 Big Ten teams in the Elite 8.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see what Maryland does tomorrow, and we'll see what Ohio State does. They get a 1 seed. They get Virginia Tech tomorrow. Actually, both those teams get 1 seeds tomorrow. So it'll be fascinating to see if we could somehow get 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four. What an accomplishment that would be. But just the one is good enough for me.
Yeah.
HD 90 Dog says, question for Coach. What do you think is a taller task, beating a team for the 3rd time in a year or beating a juggernaut like South Carolina?
I definitely think beating a team for the 3rd time in a year. Now, why do I say that? Is because it's at that point, if you're playing a team for the third time of the year, you know their stuff, they know your stuff. They know everything about you, you know everything about them. And so what it's going to come down to is the little things, the discipline, the interaction with your teammates, how close knit you are with your team on the court. As opposed to being a juggernaut like South Carolina, I just think that you just have to be good for 40 minutes against them. Now, and I'll explain that a little bit later, but you just have to be good for 40 minutes. And here's the thing. When you go up against the South Carolina, if I'm Iowa, I go up against the South Carolina, you know, do I have to be perfect? I don't think so. I think, like I just said, you can be average on the defensive end and still put up crazy numbers on the offensive end. Whereas if I'm playing a team for the third time, they know what to do against my triangle and two. They know how to beat my triangle and two. They know how to stop or slow Caitlin down a little bit more because they've played her twice. And so now they know what gets under her skin. You know, they know that, okay, going left, it's going to be a three. It's going to be a step back. Whereas opposed to going right, you know, things like that. And so when it comes to that, I definitely think being a team for the third time in a year, that's just tougher. And at that point, it becomes a mental battle as opposed to anything that is put on a scout or anything that's physical, really.
And Steve wants to know, do you think Iowa plays two bigs against South Carolina, try to front Boston again? I made that prediction prior to Colorado. We didn't see it. How much is that attributed to injury, or maybe just I was just off with my estimation of how they would combat the size of the Buffs? And South Carolina's a different animal. I mean, even compared to Vonleh and what's her face. But I mean, do you think we see a dose of Stuelke and Czinano together? I mean, is there any way we see Czinano and O'Grady out there at the same time? What are your thoughts on the lineup?
That's a great question because I feel like just thinking about the South Carolina starters, you can go big and you can double Boston, especially because you don't have any perimeter threats on South Carolina. You don't really have anyone that's going to get hot and that can just shoot the lights out of the gym other than, like I said, Zaya Cook, where when she gets hot and she lives for those moments, when she gets hot, I mean, it's hard to stop her. But, I mean, I definitely think that you can, but when you get to this moment, you also have to realize you have to stay true to who you are. You got there for a reason. Your style of play, how you do things, that's what got you there. And so you can't really necessarily deviate too much from who you are. And, you know, playing two bigs, that's not necessarily who Iowa is, because now you play two bigs. And so you're allowing South Carolina to kind of clog up the paint a little bit, because now you're taking McKenna Warnock off of the court, and she's huge when it comes to stretching the floor and opening up the floor. And so, I mean, I think you can. I just don't think that it fits Iowa. I don't think it's who Iowa is. And like I said, you've gotten this far for a reason. You got to continue to be who you are.
Great response. And Eric brings up, he says, I didn't realize Tania is with Uno. Is that insulting when I say Uno?
I mean, no, not to me. I don't know.
I've said Uno. I read it as Uno. So,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all right.
Eric says, we got to see Nebraska Omaha playing Sioux Falls at the Summit League tournament. My son and his teammates quickly became Aliyah. Is it Aaliyah or Aliyah? Aaliyah fans cheering her on loudly most of the game. Talking about Aaliyah Stanley, correct?
Yep, Leah Stanley. She's definitely a fan favorite. Definitely a kid with a lot of skill. One of my favorites to work with. Obviously, I work with her just being the guards coach. So one of my favorites to work with. A kid that can, you know, fill it up whenever she wants to. And so, no, that's good. Definitely good. I'm glad there were some Hawkeyes in the house.
And Aaliyah is a transfer portal product as well, correct?
Yep. Got her from the transfer portal. So, like I said, that dang on transfer portal, man, it's how we live now. That's how we recruit. And so definitely got her from the transfer portal.
All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Let's see if we got our caller that we missed a while back. Are you back with us, caller?
Yeah, this is Kyle again from Waterloo.
Hey, Kyle. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was going to talk about Iowa's recruiting for the women in the future. Is Lisa Bluter thinking about, since I'm here in Waterloo, I see the Waterloo West girls, and Sierra Williams is one of them. Yeah, I'm not sure if she's even looking at her or not, and then it's another one, Allie Polk. They're outstanding here. So,
yeah.
I mean, is she even thinking about looking at her, or?
Yeah. So I know for a fact they were recruiting Sierra for a little bit. I know Iowa State was for sure, but she ultimately decided to leave the state and go to Oklahoma. But I know they were definitely recruiting Sahara. I'm not sure about Hallie though. Can't tell you, but Sahara for sure.
Okay. Yep. It was a great victory. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
We appreciate you calling in, Kyle. Thanks for calling us back as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and that kind of goes along with our comment here in the chat from Gold Star Thrifter. What kind of recruits does the Iowa women's team have coming in next season? You got Kenise Johnson Etienne coming in, who is going to help backcourt play. I mean, we'll see what. Obviously, you get Gabby Marshall back for another year. You've got Molly Davis back for another year. My guess is Kenise Johnson Etienne red shirts. Would be surprised if she didn't. And then, of course, you have Ava Jones coming in. What will she contribute to this team? She's going to give this team character, and she's going to give this team fight and heart. I don't know what her future is on the basketball court, but, it is what it is. Those are the two recruits they've got coming in next year. I don't think I'm missing anybody there, right? I
don't think so.
And then, of course, you got Ava Hayden coming in the following year. Callie Levine's in there as well. So, but, this team with Kate Martin back and with Gabby Marshall back, and like I said, Molly Davis, I mean, man, you're losing post depth, and they're going to have to figure out a way to compensate for life without Monica Sonano. Is it Addie O'Grady? Is it one of the other bigs? Is it Sharon Goodman? I don't know where I know she's dealt with some injuries. I see somebody else has brought injuries up in the chat, and I guess it'd be a good segue for that question as well. Copper Stacker wants to know, Tania, you have experienced recovering from knee injuries, and there are several players in this team that have dealt with recent knee injuries, one being Kylie Feuerbach, another transfer portal product from Iowa State. Can you tell us about how you were able to recover and how they can get back next year?
Well, first and foremost, that medical team over there at Iowa, huge. Jenny Schroeder, who was my trainer at the time, she's no longer a trainer, but she still works at Iowa. And then Dr. Wolf performed my surgeries. I feel like I should be getting a deal for promoting Dr. Wolf and all of this right now. But anyway, it's okay. Dr. Wolf did a great job. And then my PT over there at Sports Medicine, those guys did a world-class, phenomenal job. So they worked on my ACLs, my knees, and then my shoulder surgery after my freshman year. And so hard work, dedication, especially when it comes to these ACLs, it's just around the clock type of thing. It's not something you're not going to feel like yourself overnight. It's going to take a very long time in order to recover. I won't say a very long time. It will take a lot longer than what you may think it will to recover and be completely 100% physically and mentally from injury like that. But I think that, those kids, they're in great hands. They've obviously dealt with ACL injuries because of me, unfortunately. But so they obviously know what they're doing. So I'm positive that the kids are doing their rehab every single day, going to PT, doing the above and beyond things. Coach Lindsay Alexander, strength and conditioning coach, did a great job as well. And so I'm sure she has those kids in the weight room doing everything that they need to do. And so, and then the cherry on top is obviously just taking care of your body, what you put inside your body. And so, Iowa has a great nutritionist over there. And so those kids are in great hands. Like I said, it takes a lot to come back from physically and mentally, but those kids can definitely do it because of that medical team over there. Like I said, they've dealt with it for quite some time.
Kevin, I think we answered your question earlier from a different viewer's chat. If we play South Carolina, do you think we'll see Hannah and Monica playing at the same time a lot? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know how much. It's amazing. I think I've watched every game this season, and I don't remember. It doesn't feel like we've seen a lot of that. Can you think of a game where we saw that look extensively during the regular season tonight? I don't know how much you were able to watch Iowa during the regular season with your job, but can you think of an example of those two played extended minutes together?
Yeah, I'm sure it was, but I mean, I wasn't able to watch Iowa a lot, but I'm sure at some point or another they had to. So I'm just not sure 100%.
Brian wants to know, he says, tonight Iowa played multiple defenses that disrupted Louisville. I was wondering if Iowa has the ability to go big and then go small with personnel. Do you think they can do both? I mean, I don't know why you're going to be going. I guess you maybe talk about that. Can they do that? And what are the advantages of maybe going small against South Carolina? I mean, obviously, I don't know how you rebound against that team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, they can definitely go big and go small. They have enough pieces and enough weapons on the bench in order to go big and to go small. Like I said earlier in the show, I just don't think that fits Iowa and who they are. It does not live within their identity. And so do I think we'll ever see that? No. But to your question, the advantages that playing small will have against South Carolina, one big advantage is it spreads and opens up the court. Now you're bringing Aaliyah Boston out of the paint and forcing her to defend a guard on the perimeter. And honestly, I don't know about anybody else, but I like the chances of Iowa guards winning that battle. And so do I think it has its advantages of going small? Absolutely. But I don't think that you'll see it just because, like I said earlier, it's not within Iowa's identity. And like you also mentioned and hinted at, you don't rebound well. And so those are two big things that are going to be huge and monumental in the game against South Carolina. But I don't think that you'll see a small lineup.
Grant wants to know what the difference was tonight in regards to cleaning up the offensive boards. And I mentioned struggles today. It seemed like at points they struggled to rebound early. Kind of the same thing we saw 2 days ago against Colorado. Struggled in the first half, rebounding the basketball basically even in the second. But you look at the final stats today, Iowa actually out-rebounded Louisville 33-32 in total. Offensive glass, Louisville had the edge 9-6, but boy, those are numbers you can live with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime that you win on the boards, that's definitely a plus. I think the big difference to cleaning up the offensive glass, like this question mentions, is I think Louisville, while I was watching them, they were perfectly fine with committing 2 people to Caitlin Clark. So if you're committing 2 people to Caitlin Clark, then that leaves somebody wide open to go crash an offensive glass. That allows Monica to get in better offensive rebounding position. And so, like I said, you leave the glass open a little bit. And so when you have Caitlin going off in the way that she did, it opens up a lot of areas for everyone else, whether that's scoring, whether that's defending, and obviously rebounding. And so, yeah, I definitely think that was one big thing. And obviously, I'm sure Bluter and her staff mentioned that, they had to be better on the glass in order to win tonight's game.
Lemansky with the super chat. Tania, please call into Corey's football show. You would contribute greatly. So Lemansky apparently agrees with your
All right.
your
Perfect.
take on
All right,
football.
good.
I don't think you're the only one that feels that way, and I think that's a good indication of that. So thank you for the super chat, Lemansky, and again, appreciate you being here, supporting everything. DW says, I agree with Coach Tania on the football playing style. That is why I am donating money. Thank you for that, DW, and I thank you, Tania, for expressing that opinion and making me a little quick handout from DW. So
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
I'm on something.
Gotta have Tania express her opinions on the football team more often. Okay, so this is something I did. I guess again, my ignorance that I made another comment with simple ignorance. Joseph says Caitlin Clark's 21, yet to be 22 in the calendar year of the draft for the WNBA. I had forgotten that or didn't know that, so I made a comment earlier about how she's probably not leaving this year. She's obviously not leaving this year if that's the rule. But again, she could be here for 5, so she certainly could leave after 4 and go to the WNBA if she wanted to. But I think she'll be here for 5, and I think that's consistent with what you would predict as well, with no guarantees.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm predicting the same thing.
Brandon says that Tania, has coaching been all you thought it would be?
Absolutely. I love coaching. Coaching was not what I expected originally. Coaching is not the direction in which I thought my life was going to go. I honestly thought that I would continue playing, and then the injuries hit me. And so coaching was kind of a backup plan for me. And so getting into it, I never thought that it would be as rewarding as it has been. Just me being able to obviously spread my knowledge and help grow the game of basketball. But I think the part that I love most about coaching is one, the relationships that I have with my kids and the opportunity that I get to help impact them and grow them as women and leaders in today's world. And so that alone is more rewarding than anything that I could have ever imagined. And so, yes, I do love coaching. Is it all that I thought it would be? Now, yes, but before, no. I thought coaching was, just screaming and yelling at people. But now I realize it. It's all about motivation, and I always say I'm in a relationship business, and I love creating relationships and meaningful relationships and helping people. And so, what better way to do it than with the basketball?
Absolutely. The thought evades me. It's one of those moments that tells you it's almost 1:00 in the morning. So we need to wrap this up for your sake, for my sake, and for the viewers' sake. Final call on the call line. This is the final call for anybody who missed the queue earlier. 515-635-1601 as we wind things down here. Do want to take another moment to thank our sponsor, and that, of course, is Iowa Smokehouse. If you need a better quality snack, and who doesn't, visit iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing with this Iowa company, and they've been in business a long time, folks, serving the country, but of course the state of Iowa with their flavorful meat sticks. I had some of their bacon meat sticks during the game today. They're delicious steak bites. They've even got ketchups and barbecue sauces. They've got a really cool bacon ketchup, actually. That's one of their many products you need to give a try. And of course, you can also get to a $50 order. You'll get free shipping. So you'll get 15% off with the code Hawkeye, as you see on the screen here. 15% off with that code Hawkeye, and you'll get free shipping on $50 orders. Tasting is believing. Visit iowasmokehouse.com for more details. And of course, their link is in our description, in all the descriptions of our videos here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm. All right, final couple of questions here in the chat. Lemansky wants to know, Tania, very few players are shooters and passers. I think Caitlin Clark is a basketball savant. Do you agree? Don't all elite players have some dog in them? Her antics are shared by many greats, aren't they?
Absolutely. I feel that. I feel like that's what makes her an elite player. That's what makes her a great player. She has the skill. She obviously has the vision. She has the IQ. But sometimes that alone don't make you a great. I think what makes her great is her mindset and the chip that she plays with. She's always counting herself as an underdog, and so she's going into any and every game, finding ways and finding reasons to have that big game and to go off like she did tonight. But she's definitely an elite player. Like I said, the skill is there, the vision is there, the IQ is there. But what makes her elite and one of the best in the game today is just the way that she approaches the game, the way that she plays the game, and she plays with that chip on her shoulder.
Let's see here. Joseph had a question here for you. What do you tell your player that has to defend Caitlin Clark? How do you keep them from getting frustrated throughout the game, since you can contest a shot and still have Caitlin drop a 28-foot shot?
That's a great question. I think you kind of, in my opinion, you kind of answered your question. It's just she's going to get 20. You just have to make it a very, very tough 20. If you're defending her, you have to keep a hand up at all times. You have to not get foul calls. Don't allow her to bait you into a foul call. Like I said, keeping your hand up at all times, moving your feet, showing your hands to the refs. Those are key things that you're going to need to do in order to slow her down. Will you ever stop Caitlin? No, I don't think that you can ever stop a player of her caliber and just keep her to 10 or less points. Like, it's never going to happen. And so as a defender, as a coach that has one of my best defenders on her, I'm going to tell my player, hey, she's not like someone you've ever defended up until this point. She's going to make a lot of tough shots, but you can't get frustrated with yourself to the point where now you're frustrated and now you're getting crazy fouls, or now you're so frustrated that you're allowing her easy opportunities and looks at the basket. So that's just a situation where you just tell them, hey, you got to keep your hands up, show your hands, slide your feet, move your feet, and, just pray that she has an off night.
Absolutely. Kevin wants to know, during these weeks in the tournament, or the weeks off, I should say, in the tournament, is there a bigger emphasis on rest and recovery or prep for the upcoming game? I'm going to take a guess here, Tania, and say they're probably, they're in Seattle now. I'm assuming they don't go back to Iowa City. Is that fair to say? Iowa City.
Games on Friday. If they go back to Iowa City, it will only be for a day.
I can't imagine they would. I would think they would maybe recover in Seattle for a day, fly down there tomorrow night or something, have another day off, and then start practicing Wednesday?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're going to do, because I remember when we were in Greensboro for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, they said we weren't going back to Iowa to go to the Final Four. I think it was in Florida at that time. Yeah, it was in Florida. So we would have went straight from Greensboro to Florida. And so, like you said, I'm sure they're definitely going to spend the night in Seattle. Heck, maybe an extra day, who knows? But they won't go back to Iowa City. So just resting, trying to stay off your legs, and just getting down to Texas as quickly as possible so you can continue to rest.
And Blake wants to know, would you drive at the South Carolina bigs on offense to try to get them in foul trouble, or is that a mistake?
I think that's a mistake. I think that's playing into their hands. Last game, South Carolina had 7 or 8 blocks, I want to say, in the by the third quarter. And so I think that's a mistake. I think with South Carolina, the shot that they give up is the mid-range. So you have to shoot a lot of floaters. You have to shoot the mid-range pull-up. Once you start hitting those at a high enough clip, now you're going to draw the bigs out. And so that forces them to come out. Now you can drive at them, possibly get foul calls. But I think that's a mistake unless you have, another 6'7" big or a 6'4" kid that can go in and battle them pound for pound to get those foul calls.
And Brandon wants to know, are we going to get Megan Gustafson on this show? Well, Megan is in the middle of a very busy pro career. In fact, where is she at right now? What country is she?
She's in Greece. And so she called me at halftime. I don't know what time it was here, but it was 5:00 her time. And so I was like, Megan probably, yeah.
What time is it? You said 5:00 at halftime, so she's probably just now getting up.
Yeah.
Her and the Corgis are just now getting up and getting ready for their day over there. So is she watching the game then live?
Yeah, she's watching the game. She says she sets her alarm and to make sure that she gets up, so she watches the game. Yeah.
Good for her. That's awesome. All right, folks. We appreciate everybody being here. Yes, what a wonderful thing to recap. What a wonderful day in Hawkeye history. And hopefully we're talking about more Hawkeye history in the coming days. But just enjoy the moment while it's here. That's what these players, I'm sure, are doing this evening. They'll start prepping for South Carolina here in a few days. But my advice to you is, as fans, you're not the ones prepping for South Carolina. Enjoy this one until we get to Friday. That's what I would say. And tonight, I know you look at it from a player and a coach's perspective. Just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it while it's here, because it's just so hard to get this deep in the tournament. The Hawkeyes defeating Louisville tonight, 97-83. 97 points scored on the Cardinals tonight in the Elite Eight. The Hawkeyes advancing to their first Final Four appearance since 1993 under C. Vivian Stringer. The Hawkeyes will face either South Carolina or Maryland on that Friday, and I'm going to get our banner up here so everybody's aware of that. If you can't hear me, maybe you're looking on closed captionings for hearing impaired. Also want to give a brief update for the people who are curious on the box score. I promised I would do that before we leave. Brief recap. What a night for Caitlin Clark. We probably haven't spent enough time talking about her, although we spend so much time talking about her, Tania.
Yeah.
But tonight she was just incredible. 41 points for Caitlin, 12 assists. They did give her that 10th rebound, and I missed the 10th rebound. I saw that she was.
I did too. I missed it.
Yeah. So what was that? Was that just a gift? What?
I think it was just a gift. I think it was a gift. Like, heck, at that point, I mean, that performance, you got to give her a gift. So it was probably a gift, because I definitely missed it.
41, 12, and 10. And she also had, I guess, officially, the ESPN had her for 4 steals. I'm seeing 3 on the official box score. So if ESPN was right at one point, I said, well, she's like 2 rebounds and 6 assists away from a quadruple double. And she did turn the ball over 9 times. But again, when you're handling the ball that much and you're responsible for so much, whether it be shot making or assists, I don't know how you don't turn the ball over at some point. I don't know how you don't turn the ball over. McKenna Warnock had a nice game. 17 points for McKenna to go along with 5 rebounds, just 2 turnovers, 1 assist for McKenna. She was 3 of 7 from behind the arc. Monica, quiet night. She didn't need to be great. She obviously attracted a lot of attention down low, and they worked through the double teams as the game went on. And boy, the outside shooters benefited from the attention down low on Monica. 9 points for Monica to go along with 5 rebounds. Kate Martin had 6 points. Solid game, though. She's giving you defense. She had some time on Van Lith tonight as well, and they're going to continue to need her tenacity. 6 points for Kate Martin, 3 rebounds to go along with 5 assists and just 1 turnover. Gabby Marshall was 3 of 9 from behind the arc, but boy, she had a solid second half. So she was 3 of 5 from 3 in the second half. 14 points for Gabby, 2 rebounds, 4 steals for Gabby Marshall, 1 assist, 1 turnover. Hannah Stuelke played just over 19 minutes, 6 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist and a steal for Hannah Stuelke. Molly Davis saw the court for just under 3 minutes. Not to rain on anybody's parade. Are you surprised that we've seen her minutes go down? Or is that just a result of matchups, you think, more so, Tania? But she's not seen the floor nearly as much, and she comes out tonight. First play of the game, turns the ball over. First play of her game, she turns the ball over. Just your thoughts on Molly right now.
I definitely think that she's a kid that can fill it up when she's on the court and when she has that confidence within herself. Am I surprised that her minutes are going down? No, not really, because I mean, it's winning time. So you want obviously Caitlin on the floor for as much as possible. And unfortunately, that's the position that Molly plays, point guard. And so Caitlin's going to play 40 minutes. If you want to slide Molly over to the 2, well, that's Gabby. Gabby's shooting the ball from behind the arc, 50-something% right now, and she's playing great defense on the opposing team's best player. And so, no disrespect to Molly, but these are two kids who are very, very experienced. And, Molly is a first-year kid in the Iowa program. And so, like I said, no disrespect to Molly, but Gabby and Caitlin, they have a tremendous amount. Coach Bluter has a tremendous amount of trust in them, rather, as opposed to Molly. And that's just probably the reality of it. So am I surprised that her minutes have gone down? Not really, because when you look at things like that, just how you need Caitlin out there and the things that Gabby bring, it's no surprise to me.
And man, they're going short. Lisa Bluter is shortening the rotation. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 players, and Hannah Stuelke gets 19 minutes, but 6 players. That's basically what the rotation is. Now, I thought Addison O'Grady last game out against Colorado gave him solid minutes. I thought Sydney Falter was really good in the short period of time she played tonight. Made a couple free throws, had a layup, was solid. I mean, she's going to give you good defense. She's going to give you solid defense. She's not going to force shots. She doesn't hunt shots. She's the definition of a role player, and that's not an insult by any means. It's like calling, some of the Alex Smith a game manager for back when he was in his heyday with the 49ers. So credit to Sydney Falter. She gave Iowa some solid minutes tonight as well. And again, Hawkeyes for the game, shooting 53.7% from the field, 45.7% from 3. They were 16 of 35. They're behind the arc. I don't know that they could. I don't know that they lose to anybody.
No,
with those numbers. I don't know that they get those numbers against South Carolina, a much better defense and a team that's going to have different problems.
Right.
I don't know how they lose if they're shooting that well. And you could make the argument that Gabby Marshall missed her only 4 attempts in the first half. They had a lot of shots that went in and out in the first half.
They did.
That were rimming out open looks early. So as crazy as those numbers are, they could have actually been better. So
absolutely.
Again, what a night, what a win. The Hawkeyes will play Maryland or South Carolina coming up on Friday. And I know somebody asked earlier, what time will that game tip off? It's going to be at either 6 p.m. Central Time or 8 p.m. Central Time. It depends on what happens tomorrow, I guess, with the scheduling. And so I'll throw the banner up here so everybody can see. Remember, South Carolina, Maryland tomorrow. Big game. I don't know where that game's being played, but obviously a big game. A lot of really good athletes. I would guess it's going to be somewhat low scoring. Maryland can fill it up, but my guess is that this game is played to South Carolina's pace. And if Maryland can win this game, it's going to be winning it somehow, finding a way to win the battle on the glass. And you never know. It should be a fun night. Knowing that Iowa's in the Final Four, you can relax and see who they're going to play tomorrow with this big matchup. So again, Tania, we appreciate you being here. It's been a joy for me to be able to spend the time these last 2 shows talking to a former Hawkeye. Well, a Hawkeye, great. You're never a former Hawkeye. I hate using that term. You're never a former Hawkeye, even though you're a Maverick. Appreciate you being here. And best wishes moving forward. I know you're going to be down in Dallas. Safe travel down there, and enjoy your experience. Are you planning on going to American Airlines? Are you going to actually be able to attend the game?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. See what I can do to get down there and into the game. So it would be a great experience. So I'm gonna try.
Well, get some sleep and enjoy the week down in the big Lone Star State, and go Hawks. And we'll see if we can make more history this coming weekend.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.
All right, folks, for Coach Tania Davis, I'm Corey Brada here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Thank you for being here. And yes, Chris in the chat, still 200 people on here at 1 a.m. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you later this week.